Here's the strange thing about wealth. The further someone drifts toward real financial freedom, the less they need to prove it. Meanwhile, those chasing it the hardest often wear it the loudest. It's like watching two people walking opposite directions on the same street. One toward control, the other toward collapse. You'll see it everywhere if you start paying attention. Parking lots lined with leased cars, homes filled with financed decor, people posting curated versions of prosperity while quietly carrying balances that never shrink. Then, on the same block, someone whose jeans have faded at the knees but whose accounts grow quietly each month. One buys the weekend. The other buys decades. It's not luck. It's design. And it's not even about money, it's about motive. Pretend rich spend to be seen. Real wealth spends to disappear. Ever noticed how the ones always talking about their next big thing rarely have savings, while those who never mention money seem to own time itself? There's a reason. Wealth is behavioral, not theatrical. It's built in silence, not shared in noise. By the end of this video, you'll understand the invisible path that separates those who look wealthy from those who quietly are. And you might realize something more humbling, that real wealth isn't a destination. It's a way of walking. Because the richest lives don't need applause. They already have peace. Path 1. The noise of validation versus the silence of security. Ethan spent weekends posting his success. The leased car, the rooftop dinners, the city views that made him feel above it all. It worked. People noticed. They admired the image. Across town, Daniel was doing something quieter. He drove a used sedan with 130,000 miles and appealing bumper sticker. He never posted much. But every payday his money moved, first to investments, then to a small travel fund. 5 years later, Ethan traded cars again. Daniel traded hours for freedom. The truth is simple. The need to be seen corrodes savings. Validation is expensive. Every time you buy to impress, you pay twice. Once in cash, again in calm. Real wealth is boring. It hides in the mundane. Recurring transfers, repeated habits, quiet nights spent choosing patience over proof. Pretend wealth thrives on novelty. Real wealth thrives on rhythm. The moment you stop buying attention, your money starts buying control. Ask yourself, if no one could see your choices, would you make the same ones? Because real freedom begins the moment the answer becomes yes. And when silence replaces validation, security finally has room to grow. But the divide doesn't stop with what people seek. It runs through how they spend. Path 2. Spending for image versus spending for infrastructure. Claire redecorates her apartment every spring. New colors. New textures. The kind of aesthetic that photographs well but ages fast. She tells herself it's about living beautifully. Marcus, her coworker, earns the same. He spends differently. He doesn't chase trends, he builds structure. Every raise funds dividend stocks and skill courses. A decade later, Claire rents a bigger place. Marcus owns multiple income streams. Her living room is stylish. His calendar is free. Pretend rich build lifestyles. Real wealth builds systems. The same dollar can decorate a room or reinforce a foundation, and one collapses faster than the other. Spending isn't evil. Direction is everything. Purchases that produce stability multiply. Purchases that produce envy dissolve. Every dollar is a worker. Some dig holes, others build bridges. The ones that last work when you don't. Money, like architecture, has layers, walls for safety, floors for growth, and windows for peace. Build what shelters you, not what flatters you. Because beauty fades fast when rent rises. Control, on the other hand, compounds. And once you realize structure is more elegant than show, your spending starts to change, from loud to deliberate, from now to later. That shift leads to the next truth, that real wealth begins when the chase for more finally ends. Path 3. The rush for more versus the rhythm of enough. Oliver's story is familiar. Each promotion came with celebration. A new car, new watch, new restaurant reservations. Each one louder than the last. His income doubled, but so did his anxiety. Mason worked the same job. But every raise he made a quiet trade. One less hour of work per week. Over 10 years, Mason's pay rose slower, but his peace grew faster. Oliver had luxury. Mason had time. Enough is the boundary that turns income into freedom. Without it, more becomes a trap, an endless treadmill disguised as ambition. Pretend rich see money as a finish line. Real wealth sees it as a tool. The desire for more never ends, it just changes costume. A bigger car, a better neighborhood, a more exclusive vacation. It always whispers the same lie, you're almost there. But the moment you define enough, you step off that treadmill. You stop earning for ego and start earning for experience. Real wealth isn't growth without end, It's peace without permission. And once you taste enough, you'll see what the chase was costing all along. But the next divide reveals something deeper. Control doesn't come from effort. It comes from systems. Path 4, the external show versus the internal system. Grace spends hours each week budgeting manually, reacting to every expense, feeling in control but exhausted. She's proud of her discipline, the effort feels noble. Thomas set his system once. Each month, his paycheck splits automatically, investments, savings, donations, expenses. It runs quietly. He barely checks. 3 years later, Thomas's wealth grew by design. Grace's grew only when she remembered. Effort looks productive, but systems build results. Pretend rich need motivation. Real wealth runs on automation. Discipline is fragile. It bends with emotion. Systems are indifferent. They do their job whether you're focused or not. The most powerful wealth decisions happen before you wake up. They don't need your willpower. If your finances depend on how you feel, they're unstable. Build systems so you can stop managing and start living. Automation is the ultimate stealth move. It hides your effort but multiplies your outcome. And once your money moves on autopilot, your attention finally returns to what money was meant to serve: your time. Because wealth isn't about working harder. It's about working less and owning more of your hours. And that's where the next divide lives. Path 5. Earning for status versus earning for time. Andrew took every overtime shift offered. He liked the recognition, the title, the admiration, the illusion of importance. His income grew, but so did his fatigue. Leah, his co-worker, made a different move. She capped her hours, spent her free time building a freelance side project. 2 years later, that project replaced her salary. Andrew earned reputation. Leah earned autonomy. If your income depends on exhaustion, it's not wealth, it's performance. Pretend rich earn to impress. Real wealth earns to exit. Money earned for image fades with the applause. Money earned for time outlives the job. Every dollar has a purpose. Either it keeps you chained to a desk or buys you freedom from one. The purpose of money isn't to buy better things. It's to buy better days. When income turns into flexibility, you finally start earning in the right direction. But none of that works without one forgotten skill: patience. Because in the quiet space between wanting and waiting, wealth begins to breathe. Path 6. Impulse as power versus patience as leverage. Jacob saw a luxury watch online, $3,000. He convinced himself it was a symbol of success. He waited. A week passed. A month. 6 months. The urge faded. The $3,000 he invested instead grew quietly, earning interest that compounded while his old desire turned into amusement. Impulse feels like control. But it's just urgency wearing a crown. Patience feels like surrender, until it starts paying dividends. Pretend rich chase emotional spikes. The thrill of buying, the comfort of owning. Real wealth chases compounding calm. Impulse lives in the present tense. Wealth lives across decades. Every delay is a down payment on your future peace. When you master patience, money stops being about reward and becomes about rhythm. Waiting is wealth's favorite instrument. It plays softly over years until the noise of impatience dies down. And when you finally stop reacting, you start observing the next layer of real wealth. Because every fortune begins not with abundance, but with stewardship. Path 7. The mindset of scarcity versus the mindset of stewardship. Laura inherited money once, a small sum but meaningful. She panicked, kept it locked away, terrified of losing it. Each year, inflation quietly ate it. Her brother David took the same inheritance and invested it calmly. He saw money not as something to protect, but to direct. 10 years later, his account grew threefold. Laura's shrank without her touching it. Scarcity pretends to protect, but it quietly suffocates growth. Pretend rich think, if I lose it, I'm ruined. Real wealth thinks, if I use it well, it will grow. Money isn't a trophy, it's a tool. The more confidently you manage it, the less it manages you. Stewardship isn't about recklessness. It's about intention, seeing money as energy that flows through you, not proof of who you are. When you act from scarcity, you shrink your potential. When you act from stewardship, you expand your capacity. And that calm, measured stewardship leads to the next truth, the illusion of ownership. Because possession without control is just another form of dependence. Path 8. The illusion of ownership versus the reality of control. Brian bought luxury cars on finance. Each one sparkled brighter than the last, but each came with a larger payment. He called it living. Nathan leased a single work truck and used it to build a contracting business. Within 5 years, the business bought his first property outright. Brian owned cars. Nathan owned options. Ownership without autonomy is servitude. Every object that requires constant payment owns a piece of you. Pretend rich collects symbols. Real wealth collects leverage. Control, not possession, defines freedom. Ask yourself, do you own it, or does it own your hours, your choices, your calm? The wealthy don't chase more things, they chase fewer obligations. They value flexibility more than furniture. Ownership that limits you isn't ownership at all. And once you see that truth, the pace of your life begins to slow. Because peace doesn't sprint, it strolls. Path 9, the speed of earning versus the pace of peace. Sophia worked high commissions. She sprinted from client to client, calendar packed, weekends gone. People called her driven. David, her mentor, moved slower. He turned down certain clients, worked shorter days, earned less each month but more each year, because he could keep going. After 5 years, Sophia burned out. David quietly retired, stress-free. Speed feels like success, but acceleration hides exhaustion. Pretend rich equate chaos with progress. Real wealth designs for pace. Peace compounds just like money. Every day lived at sustainable speed adds to your longevity account, one most people never measure. If your success makes you anxious, it isn't success, it's survival. The quiet path to wealth isn't a race, it's a rhythm. And when you finally slow down, something unexpected happens. Your goals align with your values. That alignment, not your net worth, becomes your true wealth. Path 10, pretend rich seek attention, real wealth seeks alignment. Emma used to chase trends, luxury brands, viral styles, next-level investments. Each decision was noise disguised as growth. Then she stopped. She wrote down 3 values: freedom, privacy, generosity. She built her finances around them. Simple index funds. Fewer possessions. More contribution. Over time, her life grew quieter, richer, lighter. Alignment erased insecurity. Pretend rich spend to fill contradictions. Real wealth removes them. When your money serves your values, you stop competing, because you've already won. There's no status higher than self-respect. When your life feels right, no one needs to understand it. That's freedom. And that realization, alignment as a rival, is what the invisible path was pointing to all along. Because wealth isn't a performance, it's coherence. And that's where the noise finally fades. Real wealth isn't a number, it's a condition, a calm heart, a quiet mind, a schedule that belongs to you. The invisible path was never about money, it was about mastery. If you redirected every dollar spent on impression into intention, every hour lost to comparison into structure, every purchase for approval into patience, you wouldn't just have more wealth, you'd have more self. Pretend rich seek applause. Real wealth seeks quiet mornings. The richest moment isn't when your income grows, it's when your anxiety doesn't. Freedom isn't about having everything, it's about needing nothing. And maybe the real luxury isn't abundance, it's stillness. Because when the noise ends, you finally hear what wealth was trying to say all along. That peace was the prize. If you believe in building real wealth, not just the illusion of being rich, comment truth below. Subscribe and walk the quieter path toward wealth and self-mastery.